Good morning. It is, what day of the week is it? It's Thursday morning. It's October 31st, Halloween. And I think the last time I updated you was probably my kind of post-race wrap-up before I was packing to leave DC. So it's been a pretty crazy few days. So we were supposed to fly from Baltimore to have like a stopover, change planes in Chicago at O'Hare, and then get back home to Sacramento at like 10:45 at night. And so we had to take a metro, and then like the metro to Amtrak to a shuttle to Baltimore airport. So we did all that. We get there, plenty of time, all that stuff's going fine, and then basically a flight attendant didn't show up to work, and our flight was delayed. So we already knew when we were getting to the airport that our flight was delayed by like 51 minutes. And so that was going to give us like 39 minutes between us landing and when boarding ended for our connection in O'Hare. And they're like, yeah, you'll make it, it'll be fine. But then the flight attendant didn't show up. And so then it was just like, we don't know when we're going to leave. And there was no way that we were going to make it. So my friend happened to notice the United employees kind of like gathering and talking, and they're going to close the door like to the jetway. And she's like, quick, okay, go get in line. So we get in line. So I think we were the third people in line before they even announced that what was going on. And so we were able to so my friend's husband, Raul, had to be at work the next morning. And they managed to get him on the flight, which was boarding at the gate right next to us, to San Francisco. And then he rented a car and drove home from San Francisco. So San Francisco and Sacramento are about 100 miles away from each other. And he managed to get home at like 1:45 a.m. So he was able to get to work the next morning. So we had a choice of either staying in Baltimore for that night and then flying out on the first flight the next morning, or we could go ahead and fly to O'Hare whenever that flight took off, and then leave Chicago at like 10:30 and get to Sacramento at 1 something in the afternoon. So we decided, especially because it was still up in the air when this flight was going to take off, we decided to stay in Baltimore. So United gave us food vouchers to eat at the airport, and then set us up at a hotel nearby. Shuttle took us to and from, all that stuff. So first of all, already not having a great night's sleep because my allergies, just my sinuses, I was like choking on post-nasal drip all night, so not sleeping well. And I get a phone call, and it's never a good feeling to get a phone call when you are asleep in the middle of the night. So I think this was around like 1:30, 1:45 a.m. Eastern time, and it's Care Meridian, my husband's rehab home, and he had a fever, and he had a lot of secretions from his lungs, and they were sending him to the hospital. So we're 3,000 plus miles away. So kind of, nearly my worst nightmare happening. I don't travel much, and it's always a real leap of faith when I do. So I called my mom. The time zones at least worked for us and our favor this time. My mom was still awake. I called her, told her what's going on, and so she went and was with Sam. So she was able to go and meet Sam in the emergency room, and she stayed with him until until I got there. So I flew in. My friend's car was at the airport. She drove me to my house. I got my car and went straight to the hospital. So I got to the emergency room. At this point, he's just waiting to get a room in the hospital. So he was still in the emergency room. At like 3-ish or so, my mom stayed for a bit and kind of gave me the rundown. She was so good. She stayed up all night, and it was 3 in the afternoon, and she'd taken really good notes on her phone about which doctors he saw and what they said and what the plan was and all that kind of stuff. And so then I sent her home, and I was able to. He got into his room, and I was able to leave the hospital. I think around like 9 o'clock on Tuesday night. And, I was exhausted. I didn't sleep well the night before, already with the allergies, and then now knowing that he's going to the hospital, all that kind of stuff. But by the time, his temperature was down, by the time I left, his color looked better. He didn't look like sweaty and flushed anymore. His eyes were open, and he looked good. So yesterday morning, I get to the hospital, and the palliative care doctor had dropped in. Actually, I'm like losing track of days. But basically, yesterday morning, I had kind of a conference with the palliative care doctor and the chaplain. So when the chaplain is there for a meeting with a doctor, that's never a good thing, right? And palliative care, if you don't know, is kind of like not necessarily end of life, but end of life is like planning for end of life is certainly part of it, but also just if you have some sort of chronic illness, chronic injury that is greatly affects your life, your quality of life, and your lifespan, then that falls under palliative care. And so we had our meeting in the chapel, and basically, so if you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know that we have been in the hospital multiple times recently. And this is the 4th hospitalization since April. And the last 3 have all been basically a month apart. So what keeps happening is he keeps getting sepsis, which is bacteria in his blood. We cannot find the source of the sepsis. So he's treated with very strong antibiotics. And that's already based on he is... you hear about the overuse of antibiotics and then the bugs becoming resistant to them. So that's what he's got going on. So when he needs antibiotics, it's very strong IV antibiotics. And we're basically running out of antibiotics to treat him. And now, especially since he keeps getting the same bacteria in his blood and we can't find the source, it's really concerning because, he goes off of antibiotics, he's healthy for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then he gets it again. So there's a very strong suspicion that the bacteria that keeps infecting his bloodstream is on a heart valve. And from what I understand, there's one heart valve that you can't view from a regular echocardiogram that they're doing from basically the front of your chest, and that the only way to visualize that one is to go through your esophagus and view it from the back side. Well, they tried to do that the last hospitalization, but they discovered that there was a narrowing of his esophagus. He doesn't eat. He has a feeding tube. And there was a narrowing of his esophagus so much so that they couldn't even get the scope down through in order to do that echo of his heart. So yesterday he had what's called an EGD. Let's see if I can get this right. This was actually a test question when I was in grad school. An EGD is an esophageal gastroduodenoscopy. And it's basically they stick a scope down your esophagus, and then they also were able to they dilated it so to try to make the opening a bit bigger. I'm exaggerating here. It's not that big. Hopefully, then today they will be able to pass the scope in order to do the TEE, and we will find out more. So if there is bacteria, if they see it there on the valve, then that might be a valve replacement surgery. If they don't find it there, then I don't even know. We still don't know the source of this. So it's just either way, it's scary, and his body can only take so much, and we might kind of be looking at the beginning of the end here, and how long, we don't know. My biggest prayer is that we find out whatever it is, we're able to resolve the issue, and he has many, 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 many years of improved health after we get this rectified. If not, obviously we want him to have the best quality of life that he can have. And he's a fighter, and I'm not one to give up, but he can only take so much. So he's doing really well right now as far as his fever and everything goes, and he's feeling good, but we're kind of waiting to see where this is going. Okay, so let's change the subject to something a bit happier. So it's October 31st. Reading update here. So I was not able to finish Barchester Towers. I'm still maybe like a third of the way through it, enjoying it, but with all the travel and everything, I just wasn't able to read very much of it. So I will continue reading that, and I am maybe a third or so away of the way through Hollow Kingdom, which I'm enjoying, and I started reading that a bit to Sam, but back to bummer stuff. So that meeting with the chaplain and the palliative care doctor, I think I probably cried for like 2 hours. I had a full-on, I was hyperventilating. I told the doctor, I was like, I'm hyperventilating, and when that happens, your hands start to seize up, and you get this weird tingling sensation, and you kind of lose motor control. And I said, I have Xanax in my backpack in his room, and my water bottle's in there. So he went and grabbed that, and I was able to take a Xanax, and it helped. So I had taken that Xanax. So then once things had calmed down, I had taken that Xanax, which helped quite a bit. But once things had calmed down, I was laying in bed with Sam, and I was like, let's read. I think you'll be really into this book, because it's kind of a zombie-like thing. It's like the ST, the Crow, our main character, is trying to cure Big Jim, his owner, his mofo, of whatever this is, and it seems like a zombie plague kind of thing has happened. And so I knew Sam would totally be into that. So I started reading it, but I had taken that Xanax, and I was already exhausted from just travel and the stress and everything. And normally if I take a Xanax, I usually only take a half, knowing that I can take the other half if I need it. But this time I just took the full thing, because I was just full-blown hyperventilating and curling up. So I was exhausted, and so the page just started the words were just swimming around. So I was like, okay, you know what? I've been listening to you know what? Let's put this one down. I've been listening to Prisoner of Azkaban on audiobook. So do you want to just listen to that? He's like, yeah. So I just turned it on my phone, laid it on his chest, and I took a little nap there while we did that. And I have no idea actually how long I slept. I got woken up by the nurse and the CNA coming in to reposition him in his bed. So anyhow, we're enjoying Hollow Kingdom. I was hoping to get to Frankenstein, but it was just not going to happen. I thought about this morning, I looked it up on Audible to see if it was available, and it was, and there's a whole bunch of different narrators, a whole bunch of different options for it. And I found one with Kenneth Branagh and Robert De Niro, and I listened to the sample, and it was really good. But it's only a 3-hour audiobook, and I don't want to use a whole Audible credit on a 3-hour book. So I recently got as far as I understand, it's the entire collection of Sherlock Holmes, which is 62 hours, I think, for one Audible credit. So 62 hours versus 3 hours. So I didn't do that. So we're just going to stick with Hollow Kingdom together, and then I'll be reading Barchester Towers on my own. And so I am arriving at the hospital right now, so I'm going to find a parking space. Okay, it is midday on Sunday afternoon. Sam and I just finished listening to Prisoner of Azkaban on audiobook, and we are reading Hollow Kingdom right now. So, Sam, we have a crow, a domesticated crow as the narrator, and he's trying to save all the mofos, which are the humans. What do you think about this book? Really loud. The first word is very... Very what? Very? Spell it for me. The first letter is I am. Wait, I am a. Oh, imaginative. Yeah? Okay. First word is this book is right up my alley. Got an animal narrator and zombies. An animal narrator with excellent insults. Good stuff? Alright, we're going to read some more. It's been a long time since we've updated. It is Wednesday morning. It's about 10:20 Wednesday morning, November 6th. So, here's Sam. Say hi. If you're gonna get higher so you can see it in the camera. Higher! Reach up! There we go. Feeling good? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Hold it up high. Yes, feeling good. Anyhow, obviously, he's still in the hospital. He's doing better. Antibiotics seem to be doing their thing. Haven't figured out the source of the infection. Not by lack of trying. We just can't find it. So, basically, once his blood cultures are clear, meaning that they're negative of bacteria, then negative for bacteria, then he will have a long-term IV placed in his chest, and then he'll be discharged with about a 6-week antibiotic course. So that's where we are right now. I think we're still good on the blood cultures. I haven't seen the doctor yet this morning. Anyhow, yesterday we finished Hollow Kingdom, and it started off for me a 5-star book. It was really like whimsical, right? It was witty. The crow, ST as the narrator, was great because like the best like put downs and descriptions of things. I really enjoyed that. And I liked the kind of overall message, the commentary it was making on humans. Us crazy mofos and our addiction to technology was, at the core of the downfall of humanity. But as the book got more plot heavy, kind of towards the climax of the plot, it lost for me a lot of that kind of whimsical character because it got swept up in the plot, and so I was missing a lot of kind of that literary wit that I had come to love so much from ST. I did really like the way that it ended, though, so it kind of got back to that. So there was a section, maybe a 20% section toward the back half of the book that lost me for a little while. And then I liked the very ending of it, the last 10 pages or so. Kind of picked it back up to where it was. Kind of picked it back up to where it was at the beginning for me. So ultimately, I think I'm going to settle on 3.5 stars for this book. So it is Non-Fiction November, and I'm reading A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson quite slowly. Just because I've been reading multiple things. I'm still reading Barchester Towers. We've been reading Hollow Kingdom. But now I figured it is also Believathon, and we're in the hospital, and so a middle grade book seems like a really good place to spend some time, don't you think? Yeah. So I'm going to give Sam the choice of what we're going to read. So the choices are, this one was sent to me by the author, and this is The Tukor's Journey by Jeannine Kellogg. And Jeannine is a friend of my dad's on Facebook. Can't remember exactly how they met, but I think it actually had to do with she started following the blog that my dad used to run about Sam after his injury. And very short synopsis on the back. The journey follows you until you follow it. Siblings Mitch, Tony, and Jovi discover a centuries-long battle to stop mysterious creatures called Grezniks from blowing up Earth and shattering life to bits. But will they have the courage to join the battle? Okay, does that sound interesting? Make it real clear for on your mouth. Yes, okay. So that's in the running, The Tukor's Journey. We have Wildwood by Colin Meloy with illustrations by Carson Ellis. I actually didn't realize there are illustrations. So there are. And this is...
Hey,
Hi.
So, you wanted him to get up?
Okay, we're back. Slightly different angle here. Sam is now sitting in the chair. He's out of the bed. The nurse and CNA came in right as we were filming that last bit to get him up in the chair, so that's good. Wildwood by Colin Meloy is the next choice. So, Prue McKeel's life is ordinary. That is until her brother is abducted by a murder of crows and taken to the impassable wilderness, a dense, tangled forest on the edge of Portland. No one's ever gone in, or at least returned to tell of it. So begins an adventure that will take Prue and her friend Curtis deep into the impassable wilderness. There they uncover a secret world in the midst of violent upheaval, a world full of warring creatures, peaceable mystics, and powerful figures with the darkest intentions. And what begins as a rescue mission becomes something much greater as the two friends find themselves entwined in a struggle for the very freedom of this wilderness, a wilderness the locals call Wildwood. So it's actually kind of funny because the book we just finished was narrated by a crow and took place in Portland. Our third one, much shorter, Kelly Barnhill's The Girl Who Drank the Moon. We have an update. We're going to do, not quite try a chapter tag, but read the first 5 or so pages maybe of each book and then decide what to read. So I'm enjoying the beginning. We're basically setting up for the sacrifice day. You enjoying it? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Yeah? Okay. You want to start with, what's the next ones you want to do? Tukor's Journey or Wildwood? Tukor's Journey is next, okay. Personalized to us. Escape. Some sort of gorilla, monkey kind of thing. Something. You see it? It says escape right here. Look over this way because you're on camera. Okay. So we just read chapter 1 of the Tukor's Journey, and we have a snow monkey has escaped from the zoo with a parcel, like a satchel to deliver to Red Panda. And Red Panda shows up, but Red Panda's like, no, you have to take it back. It contains the story, but he's supposed to pass it on to somebody else, but he never got the second message about who to pass it on to. and then we essentially this meeting of Snow Monkey and Red Panda kind of serves as like an info dump for us to learn about the Grezniks, and they sound like horrible creatures, and so we get a whole just kind of background on what the Grezniks are and what they are capable of. What did you think about this first chapter? Here, bring your hand over here so I can see. Are you enjoying it enough to continue? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Yes. Okay. So we're going to read the first chapter of Wildwood and see what we think of that. And then also of note with Wildwood, Colin Meloy is the lead singer of the Decemberists, a band that indie rock group out of Portland that I very much enjoy. Isn't this a great cover? Sam says he doesn't want to look at the camera right now. All right, we just read the first chapter of Wildwood. I really enjoyed it. We have Prue, our main character, is responsible for her 1-year-old baby brother this day. She takes him running some errands. She's riding her bike and has him safely secured in a radio flyer wagon behind him. This seems a little cavalier to me. After she drops off her library books, she takes him to the park, and she notices all these crows that are hanging around. And then all of a sudden, the crows come en masse and pick up her baby brother, and fly away. And she has raced to try to follow them on her bike, and they have taken him off beyond the river into the impassable forest, or the impassable wilderness. And so I imagine that she's going to try to follow him into that impassable wilderness, and I think that's where the story will really take off. So we've read the first chapter of these 3 books, and Sam has decided that he would like to continue on with The Girl Who Drank the Moon. So that's what we're going to do. It's 6:45 on Friday night, and I'm here in Sam's hospital room. I'm probably going to be taking off here pretty soon. I just wanted to do a little update about what's been going on. We haven't read much today, but we're on page 57 of The Girl Who Drank the Moon. Today we actually spent a good time writing, doing some memoir writing. I was asking Sam about our first date and what it was that led him to asking me out in the first place, because it was over summer vacation and he called me kind of out of the blue. So I was getting some good insight into what led to that. So we had a nice little writing session this morning, and health-wise, unfortunately, we still don't know the source of the bacteria. We actually now have a second bacteria that's in the blood, so it's quite frustrating as far as that goes. It's November 8th, and he's been here since he came to the emergency room on the night of late at night on October 28th. Yeah, so he's been here for about 10 days. So anyway, they're doing everything they can to treat him. So that's happening there. I'm still continuing on with A Walk in the Woods and Barchester Towers as well. So I'm going to end this vlog here, and we will pick up in the next one probably tomorrow. Hopefully I can get a run in tomorrow, and we can get some good reading time in. So thanks for watching this vlog. Appreciate prayers and support from everybody who is cheering us on.